From Monday, South Korea and the U.S. began staging their annual joint military exercise dubbed Ulchi Freedom Shield for the next 4 days to beef up their defense readiness against threats coming from North Korea, but with adjustments to its field training drills to ease tensions with the North. President Lee Jae-myung called for taking steps where necessary to implement existing inter-Korean agreements, pointing out the need for courage to ease tensions on the Korean Peninsula while maintaining an ironclad defense posture. And the Trump administration has now expanded 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum to include 407 new derivative items starting local time on Monday. South Korea and the U.S. launched their annual summertime military exercise, Ulchi Freedom Shield, on Monday, aimed at strengthening their defense against evolving security threats. Our Pyongyang has our top story.
The annual Ulchi Freedom Shield joint military exercise between South Korea and the United States began today. The combined drills, aimed at defending the Korean Peninsula in the event of a contingency, will run through the 28th.
This is a defensive exercise conducted annually, and this year's scenarios incorporate realistic threats, including those analyzed from recent wartime situations.
The exercise has also been strengthened to prepare for new security challenges such as drone, GPS, and cyber attacks, as well as advanced weapons powered by cutting-edge technology. Around 18,000 South Korean troops are taking part, about the same as last year, along with a similar number of U.S. troops. About half of the 40 planned field drills have been postponed to next month, with the ongoing heat waves cited as a reason for the adjustment. While Pyongyang dismissed the drills, concerns remain that it may use the UFS as a pretext for provocations. In a statement last Thursday, Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, called the joint drills worthless and futile. At a briefing on Monday, when asked about preemptive measures to help improve inter-Korean relations, South Korea's Ministry of National Defense said it had no specific updates for now.
I don't have anything specific to share at this point. What I can say is that the Ministry of National Defense will continue to support the government's efforts to establish peace on the Korean Peninsula, while maintaining military readiness and steadily pursuing effective measures to ease tensions.
Meanwhile, a 20-minute nationwide civil defense drill will take place on Wednesday at 2 p.m. The drill will involve air raid evacuation training and exercises to clear the way for fire trucks, ambulances, and other rescue vehicles. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Coinciding with the start of the nationwide Ulchi exercise, President Lee Jae-myung held a cabinet meeting today. He asked his officials to prepare to implement existing inter-Korean agreements in phases, saying true security lies in maintaining peace. Our presidential office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The state's top priority is to protect the lives and safety of the people. That's according to President Lee Jae-myung as he presided over a cabinet meeting on the first day of the nationwide Ulchi exercise.
복합 위기에 대비한 통합적인 안보 역량이 필요한 상황입니다. 이번 을지 연습을 통해서 우리의 안보 태세를 면밀히 점검하고 국가의 총체적인 위기 관리 능력을 한층 더 발전시켜 나갔으면 좋겠습니다.
The 4-day Ulchi civil defense drills involving more than 580,000 people at some 4,000 public institutions are designed to reinforce government readiness and run parallel to the South Korea-U.S. joint military exercises. This year's focus is on fending off new security threats, including drone and cyber attacks. At the same time, South Korea's commander-in-chief noted true security lies in safeguarding peace.
작은 실천들이 조약돌처럼 쌓이면 상호 간의 신뢰가 회복될 것이고 또 평화의 길도 넓어져서 남북이 함께 성장할 수 있는 그런 토대도 마련될 것입니다.
For that, he instructed relevant ministries to prepare implementing existing inter-Korean agreements in phases, first starting with those possible to carry out. A reconciliatory message was evident, in Yi's Liberation Day speech last Friday, where he vowed to gradually restore the 2018 military agreement.
The Ulchi exercise is designed to protect our people's lives and safety. It is defensive in nature and has no intention of attacking North Korea or raising tensions on the Korean peninsula.
On top of that, noting the popularity of the Netflix hit animation K-pop Demon Hunters, the president asked for comprehensive measures to support K-content going global, calling the power of culture a new driving force for national strengths. Approved on Monday were more than a dozen bills, some of which were vetoed by Yi's predecessor, including the DP-led broadcasting bill revision, aimed at changing the governance structures at public broadcasters, and a grain bill that mandates government intervention on rice prices.
Also on the discussion table was utilizing social media for government advertisements in the digital era, and the president mentioned the need to hold accountable any media that spreads disinformation. Yoon Arirang News.
Echoing President Lee Jae-myung's dovish message towards the North, the government has set out its approach to relations with North Korea, saying it aims to rebuild trust across the border. Our Oh Soo-young has more.
Restoring trust will be Seoul's policy towards North Korea under the Lee Jae-myung administration. On Monday, Unification Ministry spokesperson Koo Byung-sam announced the government will shift its approach, effectively scrapping the so-called unification doctrine of the previous administration. This comes after the president's Liberation Day address last week, where he made 3 commitments: to respect the North Korean regime, no unification through subjugating the North, and no hostile acts. Spokesperson Koo said this marks a clear departure from former President Yoon Suk-yeol's unification doctrine, which critics say presented subjugation of the North. Unveiled on Liberation Day last year, the now-abolished doctrine called for a unified Republic of Korea by encouraging grassroots calls for freedom and democracy by North Korean citizens. Speaking at a parliamentary committee on foreign affairs and unification, Unification Minister Chung Dong-young on Monday called for trust-building measures through reviving military communication and the 2018 deal on de-escalating border tensions with the North. However, he said inter-Korean dialogue might take time to materialize. At the same committee session, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said Yi's new dovish policy will be anchored in close coordination with the United States. Pursuing inter-Korean dialogue alongside US-North Korea negotiations, the minister said Seoul and Washington will reaffirm a unified stance on North Korea and create conditions for renewed dialogue. He added Seoul envisions a phased approach to denuclearization, a gradual process of freezing, reducing, then dismantling the North's nuclear program. South Korea will also seek cooperation from China in encouraging denuclearization and regional stability while responding firmly to unilateral actions in the West Sea. With Russia, Seoul will continue dialogue to protect Korean citizens and businesses, but Cho reiterated strong opposition to Moscow's ongoing military cooperation with Pyongyang, calling it a direct security threat. North Korea so far has not issued a response to South Korea's new policy direction. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung met with U.S. Senators Tammy Duckworth and Andy Kim at the Yongsan Presidential Office on Monday. According to presidential spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung, President Lee asked the U.S. Congress to play a key role in broadening the alliance to include the economy, science, and technology. He also expressed hope that his summit with President Trump next week will deliver tangible results in various areas, such as shipbuilding. Reaffirming Congress's bipartisan support for the ironclad alliance, the senators noted that President Lee's decision to visit Japan before Washington reflects his determination to further strengthen South Korea-Japan relations and trilateral cooperation with the U.S. The United States expanded 50% steel and aluminum tariffs are officially in effect. These duties now cover 407 additional derivative goods, sparking widespread concerns. Our correspondent Moon Ji-young has this report.
The broadened tariff measures apply to products imported into the U.S. or released from bonded warehouses starting Monday. These additional tariffs, initially announced last Friday by the Trump administration, primarily target the steel and aluminum content within these derivative products. Specifically, a 50% tariff will be levied only on the value attributable to the steel and aluminum components. The expansion follows requests from U.S. domestic industries in May, which were then solidified by the U.S. Department of Commerce after a period of stakeholder consultation in June. These measures fall under Section 232 of the U.S. Trade Expansion Act, citing national security as the rationale. However, Korea has strongly asserted that Korean products do not pose a threat to U.S. national security. Despite these appeals, the Commerce Department largely approved its domestic industry's claims, excluding only about 60 items already under other Section 232 measures or investigations. The burden on the Korean exports is bound to be heavy.
The 50% tariff hike will severely diminish the price competitiveness of Korean firms, likely shrinking their U.S. market share. With many previously untaxed derivative products now included, Korean firms face significant risks of losing existing clients, struggling to find new ones, and grappling with increased production costs and long-term contract issues with U.S. partners.
Concerns are growing in Seoul, with the Trade Ministry on Monday stating that the U.S. could further expand its 50% tariff list for steel and aluminum derivative products. These additional items are expected as early as September, fueled by ongoing requests from U.S. industries. The Trade Ministry has pledged to significantly expand its support programs for SMEs affected by import regulations. This includes broadening consultation services for verifying steel and aluminum content and providing proof of origin, while also substantially reducing the financial contributions required from companies for these support services. 문지영, Arirang News.
Staying in the U.S., U.S. President Donald Trump has promised a big progress on Russia, despite failing to achieve any peace deal in his recent meeting with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Trump will now meet with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, on Monday. Lee Seung-jae reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump, in a social media post on Sunday, promised big progress on Russia. However, he did not provide any details on what progress has been made since the no-deal after summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin last Friday in Alaska. According to sources cited by Reuters, Washington and Moscow have floated proposals under which Russia would give up small pockets of occupied Ukrainian territory in exchange for Kyiv ceding fortified land in the east and freezing front lines elsewhere. But most importantly for Kyiv, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a security guarantee is something Washington will continue to push for Ukraine.
In the meantime, the one thing we do know that Ukraine has said repeatedly and publicly talked about is security guarantees. That's a very reasonable request. That's something we're working on, and that's something the Russian side has to understand, obviously.
Washington has also discussed the possibility of a defense pact, as Trump's envoy to Russia, Steve Witkoff, told Fox News on Sunday that the U.S. and its European partners could offer Ukraine NATO-style security guarantees outside the alliance framework as part of a settlement.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
Meanwhile, European and NATO leaders announced they will stand with President Vladimir Zelenskyy in Washington on Monday, presenting a united front as Trump pursues peace talks with Russia. Leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Finland are joining Zelenskyy after his exclusion from Trump's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin last Friday. Their show of support comes after a tense Oval Office meeting in February when Trump clashed with Zelenskyy in a heated exchange. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, the special counsel questioned former First Lady Kim Gun-hee, who has been arrested on corruption charges on Monday for the second time since her arrest. Her close associate was also questioned by the team on the same day. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
Former First Lady Kim Gun-hee and close associates appeared at the special counsel's office on Monday. Kim's questioning ended at around 4 p.m., about 6 hours after it began at 10 a.m. This comes as special counsel Min Jung-gi investigates corruption allegations against the former First Lady, with Monday's session focusing on her alleged interference in candidate nominations during past elections and stock price manipulation. As in her previous questioning last Thursday, according to the team, Kim refused to answer most of the team's questions. It was Kim Gun-hee's second questioning since her arrest last week, after a court issued an arrest warrant with detention. Although the team plans to hold another round of questioning on Wednesday, Kim's side said the schedule needs to be adjusted due to her health issues. Kim Ye-sung, who's often described as the butler of her family, also appeared at the office. It was his first session since being taken into custody on Friday on charges of embezzling $2.4 million from IMS Mobility, a company in which he holds a stake. Prosecutors suspect he diverted part of the funds into another firm he effectively controlled. Investigators also examined whether the embezzled money or other profits were funneled to Kim Gun-hee's family. The same day, a shaman named Chun Sung-bae was also questioned over allegations that he delivered requests for business favors along with luxury gifts from the Unification Church to the former First Lady. Meanwhile, the Seoul Central District Court held a hearing on Monday on former President Yoon Suk-yeol's insurrection and abuse of power charges without him present, as he has refused to attend. Yoon has skipped all 5 hearings in the insurrection case since his rearrest, citing health problems. His representative said he will attend once his condition improves, but declined to provide details on his current health. 신하영, Arirang News.
Seoul City is adding a new mode of public transport, this time on water. The city's new river ferry system, the Hangang Bus, is set to officially launch this September. Our Park Hyo-bin was on board.
In a city driven by cars, buses, and subways, this one moves differently. No rails, no tires, just water. This is the Hangang Bus, Seoul's new ferry-based public transport, designed to connect key spots along the Hangang River.
This ferry just left Apgujeong and is now heading to Yeouido. The view from here is stunning. You can see the river, bridges, and tall buildings, all in one frame.
Ahead of its official launch in September, the city began offering early test rides for residents to experience the new service firsthand. As the ferry glides across the water, slicing through the breeze with the skyline in full view, smiles spread among passengers on board.
It was really fun riding the Hangang Bus. It made me feel happy.
It's very refreshing. I'd say the view is very good. Excellent.
I've been on ferries abroad, but seeing one as public transport in Seoul is amazing. The view is beautiful. It feels completely different being on the river instead of just looking at it.
Step inside and it feels far from your typical subway or bus. Panoramic windows and ceiling skylights flood the interior with natural light. Nearly 200 seats are paired with foldable tray tables, and there's even a cafe corner where passengers can grab a quick snack or drink. The ferry is scheduled to operate 2 main routes starting in September. The Hangang Bus operates a 75-minute one-way route linking 7 stops from west to eastern Seoul and returns along the same path. For faster travel, a 54-minute express route is also available. What's more, the ferry runs on a hybrid propulsion system, cutting carbon emissions, and it has passed all required safety tests and certifications. A one-way ticket costs 3,000 won, or about $2 for adults, with transfer discounts available through the city's transit card system. Whether you're commuting, sightseeing, or simply taking a break from the city's rush, the Hangang Bus offers a moment to slow down and see Seoul from a whole new perspective. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
It is time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. For that, we have our sports editor, Paul Nietzsche, joining us in the studio. Hello, Paul.
Hello there.
So, Paul, let's start with this. Heung-min, he started his MLS match over the weekend. How did that go?
Yes, well, he started and he got his first assist for LAFC and indeed in the MLS. After making his debut off the bench last week, Son was named in the starting lineup for LAFC's home match against the New England Revolution on Saturday. His assist came in injury time to tee up Matthew Chouanier to make it 2-0. Son was deployed as a central striker and had 4 shots, 2 of which found the target. He created 5 chances, the most by any single player in the match. Up next for LAFC and Son is FC Dallas away on Saturday local time. His team sit 5th in the Western Conference. The top 7 make it through to the final series directly.
Now, Paul, maybe next week we'll be talking about his first MLS goal, hopefully.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to baseball, we had a Korean derby in MLB. Tell us.
Yes, right. We had Lee Jong-hoo facing Kim Ha-sung, and Kim Ha-sung and his team, the Tampa Bay Rays, won the 3-game series 2-1. The last encounter, which was their last meeting of the season, ended in a 7-1 win for the Giants. He went 1 for 4, a double that opened the game for the Giants in the bottom of the first inning. Kim, batting at number 6, went 2 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He hit a single 2E in centre in his first at-bat at the top of the second. He singled again in the top of the 5th. Both recorded hits and steals in the second game of the series on Saturday, which ended in a 2-1 Rays win. Both scored runs in Friday's match as well, which ended in a 7-6 win for the Rays.
Well, sticking with baseball, I understand KBO has another new single-season sellout record, right?
Yes, it's set by the Hanwha Eagles last Wednesday. The record of 48 was extended the following day with a 49th sellout from 55 home matches. This beats the record of 47 that was also set by the Eagles last season. But this season's record has come at their brand new stadium, Daejeon Hanwha Life Ballpark, that has 5,000 more seats than their old ground. Their total attendance for the season surpassed 900,000 for the first time ever on Wednesday. The Eagles are second in the standings, just 2 games behind the LG Twins. They return home against the Doosan Bears on Tuesday.
And last but not least, to golf, some encouraging performances by some South Korean stars. Tell us.
Yes, that's right. First of all, Im Sung-jae in the PGA Tour playoffs.
Right.
He will play in his 7th straight Tour Championship this year, the longest streak by any South Korean golfer. This comes after he finished 28th in the FedEx Cup standings after the BMW Championship over the weekend. Only the top 30 make it through. This is all despite finishing at 10 over par. Meanwhile, former world number 1 Park Sung-hyun finished in a LPGA top 10 for the first time in 6 years. Park finished 7th at the Portland Classic at 16 under par 272. However, she will need to finish in the top 80 to stay on the LPGA Tour next year. Before the weekend, she was ranked 147th.
All right, Paul, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks for that roundup.
Thank you. See you.
The hot weather with high humidity is still in full swing today. Heat wave advisories are in place in the central areas, including Seoul, and heat wave warnings have also been issued for the southern parts of the country. This heat wave will continue for the time being. Rain has been falling in the Seoul metropolitan area and Gangwon-do province today. Looking at the amount of rainfall, about 5 to 60 millimeters is expected, and more than 80 millimeters of rain could fall in northern parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do province by tonight. Tomorrow morning will start warm at 23 to 26 degrees Celsius all over the country. Daily highs move up to 30 degrees in Seoul, Gyeongju and Daegu 34 degrees. Rain clouds will appear often around the Seoul metropolitan area and Gangwon-do province early this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.